My name is Josh with Acufloor, and I'd like to tell you about the most innovative, most cost-effective, and strongest leveling system on the market. So, who are we? Well, Acufloor was started by tile professionals. We're commercial flooring contractors. We've been in business since 1955. We mostly concentrate on commercial tile projects. So we did Cowboy Stadium, the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas. We do large hospitals, hotels, shopping malls, large office buildings. So around 2011, we started noticing a trend in the industry that tiles continue to get bigger and bigger, and everyone likes tight grout joints for a lot of reasons. Well, big tiles and small grout joints are very difficult to install. We ran into that specifically at the Galleria Mall in downtown Dallas. There was a Sheraton hotel that we were remodeling. Originally, this tile was spec'd as a 24-inch by 48-inch tile, so a 2-foot by 4-foot tile, and they wanted a 1/16 grout joint. That's scary. So what we did is we go in and we start checking the floor, making sure that, we need a nice flat floor to start with. And what we saw was a nightmare. There were places where the floor was out of level 3 inches over 8 feet. For 3 weeks, we ground down that floor. We used over 350 bags of self-leveler, poured out over this floor. It's around 5,000 square feet. So we started installing tile, and once we did, the owner hears that tile's going in. So she flies in from up north and checks it out and says, "Guys, this is looking nice, but we just finished this job up north where we use these little clips to level out the tiles." And we kind of smiled and said, "That's cute, but that's for people who don't know how to lay tile. We're professionals." She smiled and said, "Well, that's nice, but if you want to get paid for this project, you're going to use them." So we used them. And we decided that we wanted to go with the one from the big box store originally because they were most available. The guys are complaining at first and saying, "We don't need this." And I said, "I don't think you need them either. I don't think they're going to help you. But I've got to take pictures and send them to the owner. Otherwise, we don't get paid and nobody gets paid." It was very interesting to see that by lunchtime, they'd almost completely flipped. And they said, "Hey, we're running out of those clips. Can you get us more?" And I'd say, "Oh, you like them?" "Well, yeah, I like them because, it's keeping the tiles nice and flat. I don't have to worry about the thin set shrinking and sagging underneath and the corners of the tiles dropping. If a tile's high over here, I was filling up a bucket of water and setting it on the tile over here to try and keep it down, or taking a full bag of thin set or grout and setting it on. So at the end of the day, we'd have this big, massive hotel lobby, and there's full buckets of water and full buckets of thin set kind of, randomly around to try and manipulate the tiles. Well, the clips were doing that for us. So at the end of this job, we had installed around 5,500 square feet of tile, and we only replaced 2 tiles because of lippage. So we were sitting around thinking, okay, clearly these work, but they were very expensive and they slowed down the installation. So we said, we know what works and what doesn't, and we also know ultimately what we're willing to pay for something and what you're willing to pay for something. So we said, let's see if we can take the idea of a tile leveling system and improve upon it. And so that's exactly what we did. We needed to make it less expensive, and we needed to make it more productive. Every single leveling system that was out at the time, and to this day, is some sort of a copy of each other, right? Take something and slide it underneath the tile, clamp something on top, or slide in a wedge, and you fix the problem. But if you guys can't afford it, and it slows you down and you're getting paid by the square foot, then you're not going to use it. Every other system out there basically has some sort of a solid piece of plastic on the bottom, similar to this. So what that means is you can't put that in the corners, because then you would be pushing thin set out of the corners and you'd compromise the integrity of the installation. And each one of these tile leveling system manufacturers, they know that. That's why they tell you not to put their clip in the corner. They tell you to set it back from the corner. So on a grid pattern, for example, you're going to have 4 clips per corner. If you're doing an offset brick joint pattern, you're going to have 3 clips per corner. Well, that's where the expense comes in. That gets really expensive, and it slows you down over a traditional installation where you're just using 1 spacer per corner, whether that's a cross or a T-spacer. So we said we need to figure out a way that we can put ours in the corner without pushing thin set out. And then the other thing is, at the time, no one had thought to combine the leveler and the spacer into one piece. So up until we came onto the market, you had to do something like this, where you have 4 levelers per corner and 4 spacers in there if you wanted something other than a 1/16 joint. So what we did was we designed our patented eye-shaped base, which doesn't push thin set out of the corners. The corners are the weakest point of any tile installation. 9 times out of 10, if a tile breaks, it's going to break in the corner, not out in the middle of the tile. So what this does is it allows direct contact between the tile, the thinset, and the subfloor without compromising the integrity of the installation like other systems with a solid base. So you can see here that there's only one piece per corner. So on a grid pattern, it's the same as an offset pattern, only one piece per corner because of this I-shaped base will either contact all 3 tiles on an offset pattern or all 4 tiles on a grid pattern. You see here that we can put our clips in the corners, but one thing that we had to get across to people is I would see them using our system incorrectly. And they were putting 4 per corner like with other systems. And I would talk to them and remind them the value of the I-shaped basing, being able to put it in the corner. And they would say, yes, Josh, I understand that. But what's happening is I'm using a rectified tile and a 1/16 grout joint, and then I slide your wedge in there and I can't see the intersection. It's blocked. So I need to be able to see the corner. Well, what do? We redesigned our wedge. We were able to patent it. And now we're the only leveling system that offers a wedge that allows you to see into the corners, and we've called it the window wedge. So now when you combine the value of being able to put our clip in the corner with the window wedge being able to see the corner, there's really no comparison. One other thing about our wedge compared to other wedge systems is it's made out of a nylon, which is a very hard and flexible plastic. This allows us to give you a lifetime warranty against breakage on our wedges. Other people will tell you with their system that you need to replace the wedges. Typically, you'll get 6 to 8 uses and then they'll break and you have to buy more. Well, the wedge is the most expensive part of the system. One other thing to keep in mind now that we've talked about the value of the I-shaped base and being able to use fewer pieces is cost. So you can already see that 1 piece per corner is much, much faster and more efficient than 4 pieces per corner. But it's also a whole lot less expensive. Let's say that right now you're paying 8 cents a clip for System X. Ours is around 8 cents a clip also, retail price. So you're saying, well, this is the same price. But remember, we're using 1 piece as where they're using 3 or 4 pieces. So on a grid pattern, there's 8 cents in every corner of your installation for our system. For their system, at 8 cents a piece times 4, you're 32 cents in a corner. That's a quarter of the cost. Same thing with the brick joint pattern. You're 8 cents versus 24 cents. You do 1,000 square feet, you're saving a lot of money, and that adds up really, really fast. So now you see that we could save you a whole lot of money, but you might be thinking, okay, I've already invested in this other leveling system. I already have a ton of wedges. Well, how many wedges do you have? Let's say you have 2,000 wedges of another system. Well, lucky for you, we can take those 2,000 wedges, turn them into 500 wedges, and cover the exact same square footage if you're doing grid patterns. So, for example, these buckets behind me, there's 500 wedges in each of those buckets. Your 2,000 wedges of another system is probably taking up a box about this big, and you're carrying them from job to job. The box gets breaking, you lose wedges. The wedges get replaced after 6 to 8 uses because they break. Well, that bucket behind me there can take up far less room in your pickup truck, and going from job to job is a whole lot easier. Plus, remember, we offer a lifetime warranty against breakage. So you really have a very small upfront investment to make the switch to Acufloor. But think back to what we talked about just a minute ago and how fast you're going to make that money up by switching and using a less expensive leveling system. So we've talked about how much faster our system is. We've talked about the superiority of our wedges. We've talked about how much savings we can give you as far as how much time you have to spend on a job because you're going to be much more productive using our leveling system as opposed to another leveling system. Let's talk about the clips for a minute. There's some clips out there that you can take them and you can do this, and you got 2 pieces in your hands. They break very easy. So what that means is you're installing tile and you push that wedge in there. Well, if this breaks, well, now you got to pick up the tile, you got to comb new thin set, you put another clip in there, and when you push the wedge in, you're probably not going to push as hard because you don't want it to break again. And if you don't push the wedge in enough, you're not getting a perfectly flat floor. Our clips, you can sit here and do this all day long. You can pull on them. They're very, very strong. Now, that being said, once they're under tension with the wedge, the thin set's dry and you're ready to remove them by walking around and kicking them out. They're under tension and they pop out clean below the surface of the tile, so you don't have any issues there. So as you can see, we offer the most innovative, strongest, least expensive leveling system on the market. So what are you waiting for? Make the switch today.